Hello, I am Cassie Brown, and I am thrilled to welcome you to the Amplify My Impact podcast. After years of consulting and managing programs for some of the top entrepreneurs, CEOs, and marketers in the industry, I am on a mission to expand our contribution, to grow, scale, and create more so we can do and give more. This podcast celebrates entrepreneurs who are boldly stepping up to own their calling, expand their influence, and stretch outside their comfort zone, who've decided to stop playing it small, pick up the mantle of contribution, and serve at a higher level to lead by example and light the way for others. If that's you, then get ready to amplify. There's a fire that burns inside your soul, and we're going to ignite it into a roaring blaze of unstoppable momentum. All right, you guys, welcome back to Amplify My Impact. This is going to be a really special episode. For the last several episodes, we've been doing interviews, and I'm really grateful for batch content planning during this phase in our lives. But today I am doing a live recording and live update here at Duke University Hospital, where Adam is going into surgery tomorrow. I just dropped him off this morning around 7, and it's around 8 hours. He's been going through tests, getting settled in his room, and I can finally go back for visiting hours now. And I hope you're ready for the update. So let's dive right in. So it's been a crazy couple of months. I just wrote out the timeline before I started recording this podcast, and I am just in shock. Looking at around mid-June is when stuff went sideways. And Adam had been on a low-dose chemo pill that was wrapping up a 2-year cycle. And the medical team had reviewed his latest MRI. That was the first full 6 weeks after the chemo had stopped. And they just didn't like what they saw on the report and called Adam, called us, and said we wanted to see them again at Duke for another MRI. And once we got there, quickly found out it was going to be a biopsy. So June was a bit of a shock month for us because we have been in this pattern of maintenance for coming up in December will be 9 years. And it was just our new normal. Every 6 weeks we would get an MRI scan, we would get the thumbs up, everything's stable, and then we would just go back to our lives and about our business. So with all of the stress of COVID and everything that was going on with the kids, being home from school, figuring out what we were going to do, pretty much in quarantine and social distancing most of the summer, this totally, like, for lack of a better analogy, knocked me off my horse. I'm talking about like wind out of my lungs, unexpected. And it was stressful. So it was a whirlwind once we got the call from the medical team at Duke, and immediately that next week was scheduled to come meet with Dr. Friedman, the main surgeon. And when we met with him, we found out we were going for a biopsy. So Adam had the biopsy on June 24th, and then the results came back. And as if it wasn't shocking enough that there was growth on what the original diagnosis was, this slow growing brain tumor. The first cycle of scans after he had gotten off the chemo pill, the next shock was that it had increased from a grade 2 to a grade 3, which for brain tumors, it's more aggressive, cancerous, and just not looking good all the way around. And Adam's seizure activity had increased in small little flare-ups and auras and all of that good stuff. So at that point, surgery is scheduled for July 13th. And I think everything hindsight has really what we've been blessed with. And looking back, it was such a whirlwind to go from finishing the chemo pill to we need to see you, we don't like what the scans look like, to the biopsy, to it's cancer, to surgery being scheduled on July 13th. So now, sort of to catch you up in the timeline, we are right around July 4th weekend. So we spend it, Adam watches baseball, I spend it with my sister, we watch Hamilton, like life is as normal as it's going to get at this point. And we're just sort of like going through the motions and keeping our priorities in check and just dealing with things one step at a time. Then we get the news that following week after July 4th weekend that a close friend on the baseball team had tested positive for COVID, a parent of a player. And Adam had ridden with them to the ball game that weekend. So we had a mini freak out and tested on the 8th and let Duke know, and they pushed back the surgery just to be safe. A couple days later, we got our results back and it was negative. Needless to say, there was a little bit of a hyperventilation and panic attack in there, just because I felt like I hit rock bottom and could not, I was trying to grasp for control for things. And I think this was the first time where it was almost like we wanted that rip the Band-Aid effect. Like, okay, we know we need surgery. It's going to be on July 13th. Let's just do it. Let's just knock it out. And God wanted us to slow down and deal with this that was going on with our family. That was a, permanent life change. That was a huge shift. There was a lot of stuff to be done, a lot of things that needed to be changed, priorities that needed to shift and slow down. And I believe 100% hindsight, looking back, that this was totally a beautiful train wreck of God saying, slow down. Because on top of Duke playing it safe and just going ahead and pushing back the surgery, the first date that it was pushed back was to the 27th. Well, within that time frame, we both started having symptoms for COVID and we got tested again. And this time it was positive. So with this positive test, there is a new third surgery date finally pushed back to August 3rd, which now we are finally caught up to tomorrow. Surgery is tomorrow. But during this whole, I guess just life lesson of patience and grace, I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is that sometimes no and not crazy forward momentum and slowing down and just being still, fully present and fully experiencing what's going on around you is what God opens certain doors for us for. Because I most definitely would not have chosen it. I would not have chosen today to be telling you we are going in for surgery. I would have taken July 13th, the first surgery date, and had it way behind us and on to the next phase, because moving into the next phase is chemo and radiation. But that's getting a little bit too far ahead of what I wanted to really talk about today. And what I really wanted to talk about today is just sort of summarizing what these past, really month and a half has done to not only turn our world upside down, but to also, it's just another chapter that makes us slow down, be grateful, look at the world around us, and evaluate the priorities and what's really, really important. And, you ask for patience, you pray for patience, and then you have life deliver you on a silver platter everything that's going to make you be so patient you don't think you can take another thing or pull your hair out. on top of dealing with and accepting, it took me a long time to even say the word cancer and accept that was the battle that we were fighting. Being diagnosed with COVID on top of everything forced Adam and I to literally be the only ones that could be together in our little corner of the house and slow down and talk about things and really have these conversations and really emotionally and mentally process what was really going on in our lives. So I'm actually grateful. I'm grateful. Here's a combination that you don't ever expect somebody would say, but I'm grateful for the COVID diagnosis, that I was made to stop and slow down and reflect and be present and really process things in a way that in outside circumstances and in my regular day-to-day life, I would have probably just continued to bury my nose in work and being efficient and growing the agency and serving our clients and taking care of launches and focusing on the kids and whatever needed to be taken care of and scheduled for Adam's surgery. Like, we would have just kept that busyness of life and staying focused on the next task ahead and not necessarily really experiencing what's really going on in our lives. So that is honestly really what I wanted to share most on today's podcast. Is we all have different layers of goals and what success looks like to us. And they're associated with our personal goals and with our family and with our lifestyle goals. We have a certain status that we want to achieve. We have a certain lifestyle that we want to enjoy. And sometimes I think we get so caught up in the momentum of creating and achieving those that sometimes little things pop up and they may first appear to be a thorn in your side and really inconvenient and just no way you have time in life for this. But what it does is it opens up an opportunity to shine a light on more things that you have in your life to be grateful for, and slow down enough to evaluate, are these priorities the true priority? And this time in our lives, like, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the inconveniences that slowed us down, that forced us to take the time to put our priorities in check, to reevaluate what success looks like, and to even actually improve our business and the SOPs and the types of clients that we take and the way that clients are onboarded and retainers are created and everything like that. Like, the time that we waste has been dramatically cut down because other priorities move to the top. So, in reflecting today, looking back, if you were to stop for a moment, even just take 5 minutes and to evaluate where you are at in your life, in your business, in your family, in your relationships, with your personal goals. Are the priorities in the correct order? And how long has it been since you evaluated what that order looked like, what the time devoted to that looks like? Because I will be the first to admit and to share, I totally fell victim to wanting to stay so busy that I did not have to slow down enough to deal with this diagnosis of cancer and surgery. So what in your life do you need to slow down to experience? What needs to be said no to, or what door needs to be closed for you to look around and see right where you're at is right where you need to be? I invite you to reflect and look back upon that, because it's been completely invaluable to me and our family. So, well, that is it for this episode. I am going to run in. I believe Adam is back from his MRI now, and I will continue to keep you guys updated through surgery tomorrow. Thank you so much for just the calls, the texts, the prayers, the messages, the well wishes. I cannot thank you enough. We have incredible family and friends who have set up meals for us while we're here at Duke, when my dad's back taking care of the kids, and just the rally t-shirts for Adam. I can, I will, I must. I think I'll do a podcast episode soon letting you guys know the source and where that came from, and just how it's become a rally cry for our family. And of course, the bracelets that we have, I can, I will, I must, and the Isaiah 41:10 verse, that is God's promise, fear not, for I am with you. I will end on that, and I will keep you guys updated. Thank you again. Love you, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. I hope you've received value, encouragement, and exactly what you need to help keep you in momentum to grow and impact the world around you. Big or small, we all make a difference. Thanks also for subscribing, downloading, and leaving a review. This helps us reach others who need this message in their life. If you know anyone who would benefit from this podcast, please share, so you and I can help more people boldly step into purpose. It is my heart's mission to help and encourage others. My internal belief that a rising tide lifts all ships. So much of what we talk about on the podcast is leading with value and building relationships through service. So we've created a collection of resources for you to continue growing, whether you are just getting started or ready to scale your business. Visit amplifymyimpact.com for show notes, downloads, programs, and more information about how to directly work with our team to amplify your impact and change the world.